In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to build customer trust. Now, to build customer trust is pretty easy. It's only 3 steps to build it. But if it's not constructed the right way, you could lose customer trust. So if you would like to learn the correct way to build customer trust in 3 easy steps, please stay tuned to the end of the video and I'll show you everything there is to know about how to build customer trust. Now, when building customer trust, it is something that always needs to be done. So whenever we're in business, the reason we're in business is to quite naturally make money and to build a client base and to have, your customers to trust you. But a lot of times companies kind of like neglect to do these 3 crucial things. They almost neglect to teach these things to their reps. Now, without these 3 things right here, your reps would not be able to make your customer feel secured, and the customer really won't necessarily trust the rep. Now, let me show you the 3 things that you should do to build customer trust. Let's get started. Now, the first thing that any agent, rep, chat person, greeter, anybody who's employed with your company should always do this right here. The first thing to do to build customer trust is to always greet the customer. Now, when you greet the customer, this makes the customer feel welcome. It makes them feel warm. It makes them feel whole. This is something that I've been taught my whole life by my granddaddy. And my granddaddy has a little philosophy, and he always says that it never hurts to speak to anybody. It never hurts to speak. When you come into a building, so for example, let's just say if the customer comes in and it's morning time, there's nothing wrong with saying, good morning, welcome into Tony Reed TV. Things like that will make your customer feel appreciated, and it actually builds customer trust, because most agents and reps and things like that, they never actually speak to the customer. It's just, hey, welcome in, hey this, hey that, can I help you? A lot of times the sales reps and things on the sales floor and either things like that, they don't really greet the customer. And that's the same way as if you're actually on the phone. See, greeting the customer not only applies to in person, but this also applies to the telephone, the chat, in person, email, etc. Now, whenever you greet your customer, whenever him, her, they, or them come in, it's best to give your first name, good morning. Thank you for coming in to Tony Reed TV. How can I help you? Things like that will actually help you build customer trust, because most people do not speak to the customers. Most people almost treat customers like they're supposed to patronize the business, and nobody's supposed to do anything. Nobody's supposed to do anything. So you should always make your customer feel welcome. And the number 1 way to make your customer feel welcome is to speak. I don't care how rough a night you had last night. You was out drinking with the girls. You was out drinking at the club with the fellas. That's irrelevant. It don't matter about what happened to you the night before. When you come to work the next day, you should always speak to every single customer who enters in the door, who calls you on the phone, or who chats into your business. You should always speak. And the reason why you speak is because people like narcissism. People like to talk about themselves. People like to hear their name and stuff like that. So if you speak and then you introduce yourself, quite naturally, the customer is going to introduce herself, himself, or theirself. And then once they do that, then that's how that bond is beginning to slowly become built up. It's not just built overnight, but it's a slow process. It's a slow build up. So that's the key thing that greeting your customers will do for your business. So again, it is absolutely critical to greet every customer who calls in, who comes in person, who's on email, who's on chat, etc. Anytime somebody phones in anything, always greet them. That is the number one way to build trust. Greet every customer, regardless. Now, the second way to build customer trust is going to be don't pass judgment on customers, okay? So you cannot pass judgment on customers. So here's what I mean by that. So now, passing judgment on customers, this actually applies to in person. So this kind of is in person because you can physically see the person. But on the back burner, it also applies to the phone, chat, and for email. So let me give you an example of don't pass judgment on customers dealing with a face-to-face situation. So let me start with a face-to-face situation. So let's just say you work at a car lot, okay? You work at a car lot called Tony Reed's Auto Sales, okay? Now, a guy named Chris comes in. Now, most of the clients who comes into Tony Reed Auto Sales, dressed in, real nice designer suits and European cut, stuff like that. But you have an old guy named Chris who comes in. Chris comes in wearing, corduroy jeans, plaid shirt. He doesn't look bad, but he doesn't suit the fit of how the normal customers come into Tony Reed Auto Sales establishment. So if somebody sees Chris come into the car lot not dressed up to par how the other people are dressed normally who come in, a lot of the sales reps and things like that will kind of overlook Chris, almost passing judgment on him because he's not dressed according to the suit of the business. So now that is a huge no-no. That is a absolute huge no-no. It doesn't matter if Chris came in wearing a pair of swim trunks and a tank top A shirt. It doesn't matter how he came in. The thing is, Chris came in to spend money. And if you pass judgment on Chris and overlook Chris because he's not Gucci down, or he ain't dapper or whatnot, how the other clients may be, if you pass judgment on this particular individual because of their dress code isn't up to your standards, you could be neglecting a person who will come in and buy every single car off the lot cash. Because see, a lot of times people come in, and I do the same thing myself too. I do the same thing. Let me give you an example of what happened to me. I'm not going to call out the particular name of this dealership for legality reasons here. But this was maybe in 2001, 2002. I was living back home in Tennessee, and I wanted to go out and I wanted to buy a Mustang. And I saw this candy apple red Mustang at this one car lot, okay? And the Mustang, had about 10,000 miles on it, and I had just sold a piece of property. So I had, cash money in my pocket. So I wanted to buy my first car from a lot cash. Okay. So I wanted the Mustang. So I, searched on Craigslist and, Auto Trader and the DuPont Registry and stuff like that. And I searched and I actually found a really nice Mustang. So I drove about 30 minutes away to go and purchase the Mustang. I had a buddy to take me to go to this car lot. When I got out the car, now I had on a pair of, two size too big blue jeans. Now keep in mind, I'm 21 at this time, 21, 22, something like that. So like I said, this is in the earlier part of the 2000s. So I was I thought I looked nice, I thought that, my oversized jeans and my FUBU hat and my Carl Kanai shirt was, looking good. I thought I was clean. So I walk into the lot or whatnot. I'm looking around. I see all the other customers in there. They're all dressed in suit and tie, suited and booted and stuff like that. And then I'm looking around. So nobody paid me any attention. I was in there for maybe about 30 minutes and then nobody said howdy doody or nobody said, hey, anything like that. So I took it upon myself to scour the lot to find this particular red Mustang I had been searching for. So once I finally found it, I walked back in the lot and I saw two gentlemen sitting there conversing. You know, they were sitting there drinking coffee, and one dude was sitting there, you know, chucking the free popcorn that the car lot offered in his mouth. So I'm like, hey fellas, is there any way how I can get the keys to this red Mustang outside? I would like to purchase this car. So if I could take it for a test drive, fellas, that'd be great. Those two guys, instead of saying, yes, sir, yeah, let me get the keys for you, sir. Yeah. They looked me up and down or whatnot. One guy had the nerve to say, son, you do know this is a Mustang, right? You do know this is like a Mustang GT, right? I said, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm fully aware of that. So after he grilled me for about 20 minutes, he said, son, I actually don't think you could afford this car. So I looked at him. I kind of chuckled a little bit. And he was like, I just don't think you'd afford this. What do you do for a living? I said, well, good question, sir. I own my own barbershop or whatnot. He was like, I don't think a barber could make the kind of money that is needed to buy this Mustang GT. I was like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I make, you know, I make like, you know, like decent money. So yes, sir, I'm here to buy this. So is there any way how I can maybe get the keys so I can, you know, go outside and fire it up and, you know, put it in drive and pull off? The guy still didn't give me the keys to the car. He still didn't give me the keys. He was like, I just don't think you can afford this, man. But why did he think I couldn't afford it? Because of the way I was dressed. Now, had I came in with a Fendi briefcase or something like that, like a real nice Armani tailor-made suit on, he wouldn't have questioned me. He would have just said, oh, here go the keys right here. But he passed judgment on me based upon how my dress code was looking. Now, normally I don't do this. Normally I don't. But in this situation here, I felt compelled to kind of show off a little bit to the guy, because I wasn't going to buy the car from this lot at all. Now my mindset is like, okay, to hell with this car lot. I'm finna go take my business elsewhere. So I'm walking out the door and the sales manager walks up to me. He said, hey sir, has anybody helped you? I said, well, I'm actually here to buy this red Mustang GT outside. And I asked those two gentlemen over here and everything if I can have the keys, and they didn't give them to me. They was, you know, kind of giving me the third degree about how I can't afford this car and all of this and all of that. And yes, sir, so I'm just done. I'm tired of going back and forward. I'm just gonna leave the lot and go buy the car somewhere else. So the guy was like, the sales manager was like, okay, well, come back in here and then we'll talk. So because he was a nice gentleman, I went back into the office. Again, I wasn't going to do business with that lot because of how I was treated. I was judged, but I did want to hear what the man had to say. And then he was like, yes, son, what do you do for a living? I was like, well, yes, sir, I own a barbershop. And I was giving him my story. He was like, man, how would you want to pay for this car, son? Again, like I said, normally I don't do this. I was like, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pay for it cash money right here. The sales manager's mouth dropped, and then he phoned on the radio for those two guys to come into the office. So the two guys came in, the other guy still come in eating popcorn and got butter all on his lips and all of that. And then the sales manager said, hey, look here, this kid just pulled out cash out of his pocket to pay for that red Mustang GT outside. Hey, both of y'all gentlemen are terminated. You just cost us the sale because you passed judgment on how this young man is dressed. Now, it wasn't my intent to get those guys fired. Honestly, it wasn't. Because again, I was just going to like let it go and just walk out. But the sales manager kind of caught me and pulled me back in. But I kept it honest with the sales manager, and I actually am happy that those guys got fired. But that is a key scenario right there that I just gave about myself about passing judgment on customers. You never pass judgment on customers, because the ones who you think don't have the money are going to be the ones who are going to have the money. And then the ones who come in wearing the nice designer suits and all of that right there, more than likely, they're going to buy stuff on credit. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not knocking that. But never pass judgment on how somebody's looking, because the person who you think won't be the one to spend the money will be the one to come in to buy the whole car lot from the owner, so never pass judgment because of how someone is looked, because of how someone is dressed. Don't go break your neck to go serve this man, a woman, a person because they're dressed in a $10,000 Armani suit, and you overlook the man who's over here dressed in flip-flops and swim trunks with a Jaws shirt on. Don't overlook him to break your neck to go serve the person with the suit on, because I guarantee you the person with the suit is probably going to be paying with credit. And I guarantee you the person who's dressed with the flip-flops on and Jaws shirt more than likely is going to be paying cash. Two different personality types. I'm not passing judgment, so don't hammer me over the head here. I'm just giving a general analysis on what I see as to happen why people break their neck and pass judgment. So again, don't hammer me over the head. But again, that's what I see. So do not pass judgment on your customers. Now, again, passing judgment really applies to in person, but it also applies to the phone. Now, how passing judgment applies on the phone is going to be, let's just say you own a delivery service, let's just say. And then your customer calls in trying to get a refund for, like a meal or something like that wasn't delivered, let's just say. Now, you pull the person's account up and you see the person may have only spent, let's just say, $100 with the company or something like that. Don't pass judgment on that person because they haven't spent a certain amount of money with the company. So that's how you pass judgment on somebody who was on the phone. Chat is the same way. Once you chatting in or whatnot, you pull the person's account up and you're like, him, her, they, or them, they hadn't really spent any money. I ain't worried about them. If they get a proper resolution, they get a proper resolution. If they don't get a proper resolution, oh well, they don't get a proper resolution. They not spending money anyway. So you never ever want to be like that towards your customers. Never ever want to be like that. So again, do not pass judgment. Now, the last thing on how to build customer trust is going to be the way how you come on the phone will determine the outcome of the conversation. Now, this right here, the way you come on the phone will determine the outcome of the conversation. Now, this actually applies to on the phone, but it also applies to in person also. Now, let me give you an example of on the phone. Now, the way how you come on the phone will determine the outcome of the conversation. So let's go back to the example of the Tony Reed auto sales car lot. Let's go back to that example. Now, let's just say instead of the person coming in, let's just say the person calls in to inquire about a car they seen in like the Auto Trader or something like that. Now, customer calls in. Hello? Yeah, I was calling about a car I seen. Oh, okay. What's the tag number? The tag number is 12345. Okay. Yeah. When do you want to test drive it? Do you want to see it? I mean, or what? I mean, are you coming to visit us today? We're here from 9 to 5. Are you coming out? Well, no, I just wanted to ask a few questions about the car. Would that be okay? We're a little busy at the shop right now, so if you need to come in and we can help you, or either you can just chat in with us. Now, you see in that example right there, that was somebody who came onto the phone the wrong way. That was somebody who didn't give a damn about the customer. So how do you expect to build customer trust if you get on the phone doom and gloom? Hello. When somebody calls in, you should be ecstatic that they called you, honestly. Because somebody called in, that means they're calling you to potentially spend some money. So you need to make sure you are always enthused when you get on the phone. Because if you're not enthused when you get on that telephone, that energy is going to transmit through your voice, and then that customer is going to know, man, this person don't really give a damn about me. All they care about is me spending money with the company. It's the numbers game, So you don't want your customers to be feeling like that. You don't want that. You want your customers to have trust in your company. You want your customers to have faith in your company, that your company can do what it needs to do to provide a proper resolution. Now, the way how you come on the phone will determine the outcome of the conversation is critical. Now, let's run that scenario back with the actual Tony Reed auto sales car lot scenario, where the customer calls in and inquires about a car that they seen in the paper. Customer calls in. Good evening. Thank you for calling Tony Reed Auto Sales. This is Lil Charlie speaking. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with today? Oh, hey, Lil Charlie. This is Susan. I called in. I'm calling in this evening about a car I seen in the paper, and I just wanted to get a few, few little things about it. Absolutely, Susan. Absolutely. Now, which car are you inquiring about? It's the red Mustang, Lil Charlie. Absolutely, Susan. Now we have two of those. Is it the drop top or is it the hard top? Oh, this is going to be the drop top, Tony. I'm sorry, this is going to be the drop top, Lil Charlie. Okay, perfect. We actually have that car in stock, Susan. Would you be able to come down today so we can get you a test drive to make sure you like it? Now, you see in that situation, the way how Lil Charlie came on the phone. Good evening. Thank you for contacting Tony Reed Auto Sales. This is Lil Charlie speaking. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with today? You see, when you ask, who do I have the pleasure of speaking with today, the customer is going to automatically feel like, man, I trust this person. Golly, man, they asked me, who do I have the pleasure of speaking with? Man, so somebody's actually happy to speak to me. Now, it hasn't probably been too many times where most people have called in somewhere and somebody asks, who do I have the pleasure of speaking with? More than likely, some of you guys probably haven't experienced that yet. But if you ever experience that, you're going to be like, whoa, like, wow, like it feels good for somebody to ask, who do they have the pleasure of speaking with? So that's the last key to building customer trust. Is the way you come on that phone will determine the outcome. If you come on the phone doom and gloom, yeah, thank you for calling Tony Reed Auto Sales. If you come on the phone like that, that's not too enthused. Now, I guarantee you that you're not going to be out on a date like that. If you do, you probably won't, achieve the goal that you wanted to achieve that night. If you out on a date and your date talking to you, your date gonna be like, what? Man, I'm out of here. So date's gonna be over with. Now, your customer is the same way. You need to be engaging towards your customer. So whenever they call in or whatnot, please be engaging to them. Don't just leave them hanging like that. Don't do your customers like that. Now, again, the way you come on the phone will determine your outcome of the conversation. Again, applies to the phone primarily. But now, in person, it also applies in person. And this goes back to number one, greet the customer. So if you have a physical store, like a brick and mortar store, and then the customer comes in, you want to say, good evening, good morning, afternoon or whatever. Good evening. Welcome in to Tony Reed TV. My name is Tony. Who do I have the pleasure of assisting today? If you say something like that to your customers, who do I have the pleasure of assisting today? Now, this is if they come into your brick and mortar. If they call in, you're going to say, who do I have the pleasure of speaking with today? Two different things. Assisting is used when they are in person, in the store, in person. The pleasure of speaking with is going to be when they phone in. So that's going to be the three ways to build customer trust. Greet the customer. Don't pass judgment on customers. And the way how you come on the phone will determine the outcome of the conversation. If you enjoyed this video, please press the like and subscribe button because that actually helps me grow my channel. And if you have any questions about anything I covered today, if you want to go more in depth about it personally, please reach out to me via email at info@tonyreed.tv and I'll be happy to assist you. Until next time, I'll catch you later.